Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, Marin, Ireland. I was just sitting here complimenting you. Sneaky Pete was one of my favorite TV shows of 2016. You guys got renewed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're keeping busy with a one-woman show on the Exhale. That's got to be brutal, by the way. I'd be terrified to be on stage myself.
It is harrowing. It is the most harrowing experience, honestly. And I've done some scary stuff on stage, but this takes the cake by far.
So here's the thing. You're a classically trained actress. You've been on TV shows. You've done great stuff.
Yeah.
When you have to be in front of an audience by yourself, talking in the third person.
Yeah.
Insane or second
Yeah.
person? Second
Yeah.
person. I'm an idiot.
No,
so
no, no.
second, third
no,
person doesn't matter.
No, it's only because you never see a one person play in second person. And I actually feel like after this experience that every one person play should be in second person because there's something so relaxing about being able to say like, you do this, instead of having to go, I was really sad or this happened to me or whatever. I can actually be like, no, it's your story. It's not my story. But man, it is really like the scariest thing, I think. I feel like I'm getting more used to the fact that the audience kind of takes on a persona every night that's like, gives me so much as if I'm acting with another actor on stage, you know. But it takes a while to get used to, I'll tell you that, for me at least.
I was reading an article where you went to my buddy Judith Light.
Yes.
First of all, talk about the nicest people in this
Oh my
business.
God.
Judith is like A++ on that ranking system. But what advice do actors give you when they say, all right, you're going to be on stage by yourself in front of an audience?
You know, I have another friend of mine who wrote me this great email. He's done a lot of solo work, and he said, you know, the thing is you just have to remember that the people who are writing their reviews, you see somebody sleeping, you see somebody walking out, you feel like somebody hates it, whatever you think is going on, it's none of your business. It's not about you, even though it feels like it can only be about you because you're the only one up there. It's not about you at all. It's just about delivering the story, and that's the only thing that is your job. So you just like he said it was like a crucible. Your ego just starts to burn off because you get so scared that it's all your ego like flaring up, going like, ah! And it's like, just keep being there, keep reminding yourself it's just about delivering the story, and your ego just starts to burn off. He was like, it's like a crucible out there. And my friend Jane Howdy Shell, who did a one person, she said the same thing. She was like, you literally feel like parts of your ego burn away like a crucible. It's amazing. But Lee Silverman, who directed my show, directed Judith's one woman show as well. We had the same director. So she was like, you're in good hands. And I was like, thank God, I know. So that was pretty exciting too.
You've been Broadway's little kept secret for like the last 6 or 7 years. And now you're having that moment that good actresses have where they're getting discovered. With Sneaky Pete, obviously the show got rave reviews. I remember when I was reading the first reviews on it, everybody's like, terrific show, terrific show, terrific show. That's your first female lead. Like, when you have this moment, what does it mean to you as an actress?
You know, I mean, it's funny because I actually, you know, I did the lead in a show that Tony Goldwyn created, a show that not a lot of people saw called The Divide a few years ago. So I feel like I've had...
I interviewed you and him at the Peabody Awards.
Amazing.
I remember this now.
But it was a show not a lot of people saw. It was about the Innocence Project. Me and Tony Richard LaGravenese made this show. Amazing people on it. And that was such a huge learning experience for me in so many ways. And so in a funny way, when you have a moment like maybe this moment, who knows? It doesn't, at this point, I feel like I've done so much work that I believe in and that I've learned so much from that it feels like maybe this is the right kind of moment for this to happen for me, where it doesn't feel like I'm in shock about anything. It feels like I'm just so proud and happy and feel so fortunate to get to go to work every day on things that I believe in and the kind of opportunities that might not have been able to come my way a few years back. But it's been a long road and a road full of working with amazing people. And so I just hope it keeps going.
Speaking of working with amazing people, when you're on Sneaky Pete and you look at Margot Martindale, who might be the most underappreciated American treasure. I mean, there's no one better than her.
I agree.
And nicest person, too. I've interviewed her a million times.
Yeah.
When you're across from someone like Margot, Giovanni's phenomenal in the show. We're talking to people like Judith. Like, what do you soak in from these experiences?
It really still, I have to say, somebody sent me a picture from on set once that was me and Giovanni talking to Brian, who was directing that episode.
I forgot him as well,
Sometimes
by the way.
I know, don't forget him.
Yeah,
and sometimes
little-known actor Brian Cranston.
And sometimes I look at, I really do. I feel like I'll sit on set. There were so many days where I would either stay a little longer or want to come in a little earlier so I could watch Margot and Peter Garrity work, or talk to Margot about her other scenes in the day and just say, well, how was that working on that? What was that like today? You know, I do feel like this was the dream for me, was always about feeling like I was part of that kind of community, a community of people that I could call my peers, who were artistically inspiring and wonderful people, and just people who have been doing this for a long time and continue to be inspired themselves by what they do. Because that's the best part, is seeing Margot and Peter Garrity and Giovanni and Brian, who've all been at this longer than me, that seeing them and how thrilled they are for this work. That's incredible to me. So I feel like I do just sit there like a kid in a candy shop going like I'm at, I'm Charlie at the Chocolate Factory, whatever analogy you like, or I'm just sort of looking around just going like, I can't believe I'm here and I hope I get to stay here for a really long time.
How is it different when you're an actress? How's it different doing Broadway versus being on a TV show?
There's a funny thing. I remember one of the first plays I ever did in New York, a professional production like that, was off Broadway, and it was a 3-character play, and it was me and Chris Messina and Frances McDormand, and I was like 22. And I remember Chris asking her, he was about to move to LA and do TV movies, all this stuff, and he said, do you do anything different? And at that point, I had never done anything on TV, and so I was like, what's she gonna say? And he said, do you adjust anything when you do theater or film? And she said, no. It's really just about the size of the room in a way, where the same way that when you're in a small theater off Broadway, you kind of just keep the back row in mind and go, they're right there, I can hear. But if you're doing it to a 900, 1,000 seat house, you just have to keep the back row in mind. And when you're doing something for camera, that's where the end of the room is. You know what I mean? So in a funny way, she's like, I don't act differently. You're just trying to make sure whoever needs to hear it hears it, And that really freed me up in a way. Then when I started doing TV, where I was like, okay, I won't worry about acting differently in that way, But it is that live feedback is so incredible. Being able to try things and feel the difference in the moment. It reminds me so much that when I am in front of a camera, to stay spontaneous and to allow for things to change in that way that I feel like continues to inform my work on camera, or I hope it continues to as I go, because when you go back and do a play, you kind of go, all right, it's all on me. And today might be totally different. Today somebody might do something in the audience or have a reaction, and I can kind of learn something from that. And that kind of authority over your own work, I think, is really helpful for me as I continue to go back and forth,
I talk to so many actors, and the first one who comes to mind, I was talking to John Lithgow last week, and this guy's had more success on TV than anybody, right? But he said to me something that really struck a chord, where he said, I still think of myself primarily as a theater actor. And I always find that, classically trained, really great actors always look at themselves theater first.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way, even though you're now having TV success?
I mean, it's funny. I don't necessarily think of it in terms of like a preference. I don't think at this moment in time I could say I would ever say I prefer one, because they're so complementary to me. It's like if you were a visual artist, it's like the difference between like painting and sculpture to me. It's like there's such different feelings experientially, and I start to crave the other one while I'm doing, while I'm doing a play, I'm like, I can't wait to start shooting again, but when I'm doing this TV show, by the end of that, I'm like, maybe I can do a play sometime soon. You just start to crave the complementary experience. But I'm the similar way. I mean, I trained in theater, and I thought that was what I'd always continue to do my whole life, and it feeds me in such an immediate way that I would never be able to say, it's important to me to keep doing it pretty regularly. It does feed a different part of me. So yes, I would say I'll always be a theater animal. But I wouldn't ever say I prefer anything. It's just like, that's either in your blood or it's not, And a lot of people I know who started out not doing theater, find it hard to imagine doing a play, because it's such a scary atmosphere.
It's hard. You screw up a line and you're naked up there.
That's it.
You're naked.
And there's something about that for me, that adrenaline rush, and maybe I just like that sort of high dive feeling of it every night. But I like that when it starts, you're just on the ride and you got to keep riding it out till the end, And I think that people who train in theater have fun kind of with the atmosphere on set, where you do get to try it again immediately afterwards, and then you kind of, it's up to the editor and the director to kind of create the performance final in the end, but you just kind of show up and play all day. it sort of feels like tech rehearsal or something all the time. But I do feel like, you know, if you're a theater animal or you're not, kind of, you know, it's either in your blood or it isn't. But when you meet people, like I've met John a few times, and
The coolest guy, by
the
way.
coolest guy. But it's like John and Judith, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
These people who feel like it's either when it's in your blood, it's in your
pros.
it's
Let me
in your
tell you,
blood. You'll never not do it.
But those
you know?
guys, Judith, John, the old Hollywood crew, they're
Yeah.
pros.
Well, and Margot too. You know, Margot did the first production of Steel Magnolias.
Isn't that
first
mind-blowing?
production, you know, off Broadway. You know what I mean? And like creating a role in that. And so somebody like that, you know, when she comes to see me in a play now, it's so gratifying, you know, because I just feel like she knows what it takes. She knows what it's all about, and she knows that if somebody can go through that 8 times a week, they have a different kind of stamina. You know what I mean? They've got some stamina out there.
We've talked about how On the Exhale is a one-person play, but what is it about? Tell me.
All right. Well, what I can tell you is it's about how a college professor who I play, her life is changed forever by an act of gun violence. And I don't want to say too much more because I do feel like it's surprising in lots of ways. And it sounds maybe like not exactly what you hope for on a Sunday afternoon, but it's surprising. It's very surprising in a lot of ways. And so just say that her life has changed, and then kind of her relationship with the kind of gun culture and guns in general takes some surprising turns. So I always think of it feels when I do it, and a lot of people I know who've come to see it and people I don't know who've come to see it have told me it feels like a thriller. It feels like it's 1 hour long, and a lot of people are like, I didn't breathe for most of it, which is amazing for me because I feel that way telling the story. But it's definitely a story that it suspends you in a lot of ways, and it takes a lot of turns in a way that I don't know you expect for just a lady standing up there talking away for an hour. So I would say go check it out. It's really timely. It's interesting. It's got some really exciting points of view that it brings up and ideas I've never seen on stage before. And, you know, I talk right to you. So hopefully people will kind of come check it out for the 2.5, 3 weeks we've got left.
How excited were you to get Sneaky Pete renewed for season 2?
Oh my God, so happy. I'm so happy. We had such an amazing time, and I think we all felt like we just wanted to see where it was going to go next. We did. You know, we were all just excited.
It's such a fun concept, by the
Yeah.
way. The whole I'm going to impersonate, and
Yeah.
it's just great. Like, for those who haven't seen Sneaky Pete, Giovanni Ribisi gets out of jail. He's impersonating one of his cellmates, goes back to his hometown, and all hell ensues from there.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
Yeah, I do think that similar situation. It takes so many turns that you have no idea where it's going to go. It was one of those things when I got the scripts, I was on the edge of my seat reading them, and I would call the writers and go like, "You guys are incredible. I don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea where it's going to go," and that's really exciting. So you never get ahead of that story. I think it's amazing.
Congratulations. I hope you're having that moment that actresses have where the elevation goes on from there. So make sure to check out Marin at the Roundabout Theater and a terrific show On the Exhale.